All right, y'all. We are back. New week. What is it? May 20th, 2024, rolling through the end of May. This is that time of the year where things really pick up, right? It seems like things are going at 1.5x speed. So it's even more important to be tapped in, and that 1% becomes even more important. Because this is that time of the year where it really scoots by, right? We finished the first quarter of the year. We're well into the second quarter. And this is when, it's like, hey, you still got 3 quarters of the year left, but that middle half of the year speeds by. And then the end of the year, the holidays is just busy, 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 hustle and bustle. So it's really important now, if you have some major goals for the year, that you get them done today, right? Not tomorrow, not next week, because the rest of the year really starts to pick up. It's like busy beginning of the year, the middle of the year, things start to lull. But we also have time that kind of goes on that 1.5x speed, and the months start rolling by, rolling by, rolling by. And, we get to summer, and that second half of the year is just busy, 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 busy. So make sure that you're taking the time now during when, we have that 1.5x speed to make sure that you're getting 1% better each and every day. Because as of yesterday, we are officially 1 month out from the Kaizen challenge, right? The Kaizen online learning and education event. We've got a month until that happens. So you've got a month to make sure that you have your butt in that seat, and only a little while longer that you can do so for the early bird VIP registration price. This is something that, again, is just responsible for you to do as an adult that has a job or a company, because this isn't something that people are waiting on. I went and had a quick lunch with my friend who was in town, who works for Amazon, does cost optimization for Amazon, pretty much for all of Miami. And he was talking about how, because we got on the subject of bots, and he was talking about he had started using, it wasn't, the conversational AI type bot, like GPT based, like that, but how he had just tapped people within the company, right? Hey, can I take you out for coffee? Da da da. This is outside of what he does with cost optimization, right? He's talking to like the programmers, those types of people. He's just like, yeah, what are you working on? What's been interesting to you? What are you focusing on? And, he kind of parlayed those conversations into getting a bot created for him that updates him all the different distribution centers under his management, right? They have certain data that's put out in a spreadsheet that he needs to be updated with throughout the day. And he had a bot set up, right, where he just gets that information texted to his phone intermittently, right, from the spreadsheets, just to make life easier for him, right, and make him better at his job. And that's why now he handles cost optimization for all of Miami, right, and a lot of what's going on in Florida in terms of those distribution centers he's handling. And the way that he's able to do that, and all these people now are able to do more and more, right, carry on more and more. How do you think you get those promotions, right? Showing that you can rise to the occasion and you can handle challenges, putting the best tools in place. What are the best tools now that are available? Artificial intelligence tools. So it's not like one of those things where, oh, it would be nice for me to know AI. You've got to know it. You've got to know it, because Amazon's a company that does a ton of cuts. Guess who's not getting cut? Him, right? He's able to do a ton of work, but making sure that he's using these different tools in order to prop him up where he might normally be weak, and not have to put in as much work, and he can have then things devoted to other stuff, right? If you don't have to worry about annoying ones and zeros, quantitative information, you can spend more time being a great manager, being there for your employees, filling in for people, right, who might be out late, and you're like, oh, I have all this paperwork done. Actually, my paperwork is light. I can fill in for that guy and literally drive the truck if they need me to, because all my other work is taken care of, because I have the tools and systems in place to take care of them. So this, it's not one of those things where it's like, man, it would be really nice for me to know how to use this. It's like, you've got to, because the people out there who are taking the time to look into this stuff, those are the ones who companies will keep, right? Those are the companies that will thrive. This is like a fundamental building block of how we're moving in the future. It's like when the internet came out, people were like, oh, I don't really know about this whole internet thing. It's virtually a requirement now to know how to use the internet, right? And use these different tools, and those that can use it to the best of their abilities provide the most value to the workplace. So it's just crazy that, and I was talking to him about having that same feeling that I'm feeling, like internally, having that internal compass with that strong, strong pull. That's like, man, there is a lot that is happening. I've got to like lock in, buckle down, and really take advantage of this time. It's not only me, like there are other people, especially friends that, I'm closer to, where it's like you're looking around and we're all getting that same internal feeling where it's like there's something big happening. And I've got to make sure I'm on the right side of this. Otherwise, there might not be a side of this left for me to be on. So I just thought that, that was fun. Always good catching up with people, catching up with friends, but also just hearing, like, okay, this is something that across the board, like-minded people are moving into and looking to implement and really, really utilize and get better with. So if you're not, I'mBetterDaily.com. That is where you register right now. Early bird still intact, going away soon. 3 days. Stocks, all things AI, large language models. I'll show you these amazing custom knowledge bots that I've been fooling around with and personally have been making money for me most immediately from AI, right? Learning, okay, what is this? Then how can I use it? You can be super, super smart. If you don't know what tools are available, you don't really have much to do with those smarts. But there's a certain magic that happens when you expose people to what's possible. Like with options, you could be an amazing trader, but you have no idea options exist, and you wouldn't be able to make amazing trades unless you knew that. Right. So just like I had to put myself in a room years ago to eventually hear about something called options. And then I, bit on that. And now it's led me to this where it's literally been my life and sustained my life and allowed me, tons of opportunity now to be able to pursue whatever I want to pursue. It all started with that one step. So make sure that when you hear about something that has immense value and it's out here changing lives and it's something that's being integrated to be a focal point of the future, you're not sitting there like, oh, I'm gonna just see what happens. I'll tell you what happens, right? I will tell you what happens. People that know how to use this, boom, they're set. People that don't know how to use this, there's a lot of struggle that'll be involved. There's a reason why Sam Altman came out with a plan for universal basic income right after he dropped ChatGPT, right? Basically saying that we need some type of infrastructure where everyone just gets paid for being alive because at some point these programs might be doing the majority of the work, right? So and I did not, that was not lost on me. I was like, okay, that's where we're at. You put it in a high gear, I put it in a high gear, right? We were put here for a reason. And we were put here with the strength to triumph. So let's make sure that we're executing on that and getting 1% better daily, right? So for that Kaizen event, you're not signed up, I'mBetterDaily.com. Lock in with us. It's going to be a great time. Now, in terms of Mondays, you guys know what it is. Deluxe pre-market prep session. The week ahead, and then this week's specific news. That's what we're going over. Amazing week last week, first time back to back, 1,000% plays ever. This has happened since I've been doing this. And when you have weeks like that, what are you looking to not do? Give it all back the next week. So we resolved to stay patient this week, be vigilant of what's going on, and move when necessary in order to make sure that we don't just give it all right back. Because I'm telling you, that's what happens 99% of the time. People come in way too jazzed up from the last week, and they just empty the whole clip and they got nothing to show for it by the end of the week. And then we've got a holiday shortened week next week, which means likely low volume. So, in terms of the week ahead, the spotlight next week, this week now, will be garnered by NVIDIA. The chip giant and perceived leader of the artificial intelligence space is scheduled to announce fiscal first quarter earnings on Wednesday. Expectations are sky high, especially with Jensen Huang led firm, with the Jensen Huang led firm having repeatedly delivered blowout quarterly reports showing massive demand for its AI chips. Its results will act as a barometer for the AI craze, and another strong performance could help Wall Street to new record highs. We're already up at new record highs as well, so it wouldn't be that far of a stretch. Wednesday will also see the release of minutes of the Federal Reserve's April/May monetary policy meeting. However, market participants could receive comments on policy as early as tomorrow, with Fed Chair Jerome Powell set to deliver commencement remarks at Georgetown University Law Center via pre-recorded video. That's important to know, right? So no Q&A session. Whatever he wants to get across, he'll make sure that he has already curated in a script. And we could get some policy information then. And it could be good information. Again, we are in an election year and we're getting toward that time. And, CPI data came out. It was better than expected. CPI already isn't the preferred, measure of inflation for the Fed. CPI, as an economics major, the way that CPI is calculated legitimately makes no sense. Like, instead of using actual housing data, like, they use this thing called OER, and they use these other factors that they put into the model to get CPI that, like, aren't good factors. Like, it's survey data. So basically, one thing that happens is they go in and they essentially survey a ton of homeowners, right? Basically, old people that own a ton of properties, and they say, like, okay, what could you rent this out for? And then they factor that in as part of the data. Instead of using like actual housing data, they just take survey data. So that's what they're like, Adam, how much would the hat you wear every morning, how much is that worth? Well, you know what? I love this hat. To me, it's worth a whole lot, right? It represents the brand. I wear it every morning. This is my battle helmet that I put on. Probably $100. What is it actually worth? Probably like 25 bucks, if that. Probably less, right? That's what you have to go out and buy a hat for. Nowadays, you can buy a hat. Some of them are like 50 bucks, 40 bucks. It probably costs like $20 to make, right? 20, 25 bucks, if that. But if you do that based off of survey data, it's all subjective, right? It's all subjective. So you're like, oh, how much could you rent this out for? Oh, well, a ton, because rents have gone up because everybody's not buying because it's so expensive to buy, and da da da. But it's not based off of real data, right? It's not based off of real data at all. And then another portion of inflation that's big is used car costs, and used car costs are coming down a lot because if you remember, there is this glut. Or excuse me, a backup, right? A shortage of new vehicles because of that semiconductor shortage, right? So we had the computer chip shortage. We couldn't get new cars because of it. So we had no new cars. So everybody's buying used cars. So the price of used cars skyrocketed. What's happening in the price of used cars now? Type in recent used car trends on Google. The prices are going down, right? So what you'll start to see is, and I don't know if it'll be as soon as tomorrow or what have you, but in the next coming addresses, especially as we get into election time and we need that election rally, right? I think you'll start to see the Fed start to make more and more comments that are aimed toward dovish sentiment, right? And in the idea that they might end up cutting rates soon, right? I think you'll start to see more of like, we've been in ultra restrictive policy and now we are moving to less restrictive policy, right? And the market is like, right. So that's really just kind of, not to get too deep in like the economic weeds, because like it's not very like fun for a lot of people, but I hope that makes sense in that a lot of how CPI is calculated is based off of data that is subjective instead of objective. And also a lot of what goes into inflation is changing. When we talk about Redfin, new home demand at all-time lows, or reaching new recent lows. When you have that coupled with the fact that used car prices are coming down, that's something that affects this inflation data, even though the inflation data is fundamentally flawed to begin with, right? So that's what's tough, is that inflation data, they say inflation could be going up, but was it going up as much as we thought? Or is this just because there's so much subjective data that's baked into it, right? So it's a twofold thing. It's kind of like a flawed construction of the data, right? The formula that goes into the data, but also there are big pieces, that factor into this data that are changing. And I think that now, especially with that CPI coming in lighter than expected, I think this is when, we have Roaring Kitty about GameStop. He tweeted like the lean in. I think this is when we see Powell like look like, all right, y'all, let's lean in. So we'll see, right? But this is just for me tuning in, making sure that I'm taking in bits of information, and I'm committed to the cause that is Kaizen and getting 1% better daily. That's how you're able to factor in these pieces of info and then be like, okay, I can see the picture starting to get put together. So I think this is when we really start to maybe see some type of action, or at least telegraphing of action from the Fed, and that can definitely cause markets to continue to rally and rocket to new all-time highs. Additionally, this week, that little kind of informative rant aside, additionally, investors will get quarterly reports from retail majors such as Macy's, Target, and Lowe's. Earnings spotlight Monday, May 20th, Palo Alto Networks, PA&W. That's been a nice long-term trade for us. Originally misread it, right? Thought, okay, nice weekly setup, da da da, and then it invalidated the weekly setup, but got right back above that next week, and I was like, that's monthly support. not weekly support. So re-enter PANW, right? And it's paid very nicely, bouncing off of monthly support, put in a strong reversal candle. And PANW looking good for the long term, right? We know Nancy Pelosi is in it heavy. Not that matters. You want to make every decision for yourself, but it always helps when, people that have insider information are also in that same position. Lee Auto, ticker LI, reports today. Zoom Video also reports. Lowe's reports Tuesday, May 21st. AutoZone also reports. XPeng, ticker XPEV, and then Macy's. Wednesday, we got the big dog, NVIDIA, reporting. That'll be huge. TJX companies, analog devices, Snowflake, ticker Snow, and then Target, ticker TGT. All eyes on Target, right? We were watching Walmart for a good run into earnings. Unfortunately, Krusty Walmart could not run into earnings, but it absolutely gapped up tremendously off of earnings. So maybe Target does the same thing. It's not guaranteed to, right? These haven't been like coupled in a way that if Walmart runs, Target has to run also. But they are in the same space. And if you want, take the time to go through Walmart's report, kind of see if those factors that cause them to beat and cause them to gap up could also be present with Target in their report. And then, take the risk if you want to take the risk on earnings or just do a little post earnings action. But there's definitely a few companies here that could, you could do some post earnings plays on. Palo Alto Networks, Lowe's, NVIDIA, of course, which we've done a few times, Target, Snowflake, right? There are a few that you can kind of keep here loaded up to see if there's some opportunity for some post earnings plays. And there's at least one of them every day this week. We got what else? Nothing really big on Thursday, Workday. WDAY, and that's pretty much it. Booz Allen Hamilton and Buckle on Friday, but not really looking to trade those. In terms of volatility watch, options trading volume is elevated on Faraday Future Intelligent. FFIE mentioned them last week. They had some kind of meme stock pushing, not something that I indulged in after indulging in two different meme stocks last week and making out like a fat cat. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, and know when to also make sure you're locked into what the broader market is doing. And made that shift, and it did well for us, right? AMD, Mara, Apple, SPY, all of them coming through for us nicely as we shifted our attention back to like real big boy stocks and not just kind of like the craziness of the meme stock world. What else is happening? IPO watch. We don't care about IPOs. Events, investor events. Microsoft will hold its annual Microsoft Build event for developers in Seattle. Microsoft is expected to show off its next major Windows 11 update, which will ship first on new Qualcomm Snapdragon X-based PCs in June. Generative AI will be a major focus at the Build event, with AI Explorer anticipated to include a set of features that utilize next-gen NPU hardware to allow Windows to run AI in the background. Microsoft has already said it will equip Windows PCs with AI features, including a dedicated Copilot key. I have one. I love it. Intel and Asus also have plans to introduce PCs with AI accelerators. Other notable events in the week ahead include Norwegian Cruise Line's 2024 Investor Day event, the 4-day Dell Technologies World event. Dell, another one that we've had our eye on, that we've traded a lot recently, and they crushed it after achieving weekly breakout and holding it. They've been pushing in a major way. Also got, let's see here, the 4-day Advanced Clean Transportation Expo with a rare conference appearance by Tesla. So Tesla might have some information for us. Tesla's been kind of trying to push, squeezing, getting tighter. Maybe this ends up being the catalyst, where it busts out to the upside finally after a rough 2024 start. The 2-day JP Morgan Global TMT Conference, not really concerned about that. All right. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for the week ahead. Let's look at our economic calendar. Make sure we're not getting caught slipping. Pull up the updated calendar. So, so Sunday, May 19th, Fed Chair Powell pre-recorded commencement remarks. So that actually happened yesterday. So we already got Powell, speaking yesterday. Monday, May 20th. A few different Fed chairs, but nobody that really moves markets. Tuesday, same thing. More Fed speakers, but nobody that really moves markets. Wednesday, 2 p.m., we get the FOMC minutes, but remember, it's not Powell speaking in a press conference. So we do have FOMC minutes, but we don't have Powell. Thursday, jobless claims, manufacturing PMI. So we've got some pre-market and then some like right after the open data that's coming out that could cause some volatility. Manufacturing PMI typically like we might chop up into it and then whatever move we're going to make for the day, we typically make on the back of that PMI, that manufacturing data getting released at 9:45 a.m. Friday, May 24th, durable goods orders. Consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. That's a bigger one. So Thursday, Friday, really the only big things on the economic calendar, which is nice. You don't have a whole lot to worry about in the beginning portion of the week. And then remember, next Monday, Memorial Day, market is closed. So next week we've got a shortened holiday trading week. Now, I have two. Shannon said, "Woohoo! Used car prices going down." Yeah, there we go. Right there, right on time. Won't he do it? Right on time. Bring those used car prices down. I love it. All right, let me see here. Now we'll get into our Monday specific news. So, top news, it's settled. Markets are only a week away from a new settlement cycle as the Securities and Exchange Commission and Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation move the industry to T plus one. Currently, market makers are required to physically deposit stock in an account within 2 days of making a transaction in a process known as T plus two. During that time, brokers have to post collateral to the DTCC because equity prices can fluctuate over those 48 hours, and some buyers slash sellers are using margin and borrowed shares so that the lag can make sure everything turns out all right. This has like nothing to do with us. So I'm debating whether or not to go over this because it's just a lot of complicated technical jargon for something that doesn't really touch the average person. Backdrop, for many years, markets operated on a T plus five settlement cycle when security transactions were done manually. Yeah, do not really care about this. One of the biggest catalysts to speed up the clearing time frame was the meme stock trading frenzy of 2021, which ironically just resurfaced. Brokers were forced to post collateral during the settlement period and eventually had to restrict trading to ensure they had enough margin in the funds held by the DTCC. Some have even called for real-time settlement, like Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev, who came away from the GameStop saga with condemnations from the retail crowd, given the platform's slogan, democratize finance for all. So yeah, this is like that's the place where it touches us, right? Is that it kind of forces brokers to slow things down, and then that's what causes these trading halts. Is it actually, or do you just like want to smother out this sentiment so that we don't have more of these short squeezes? It's tough to say, right? Because they go and they get this done and they move to the T plus one setup. And are we still halting meme stocks if we start short squeezing, or is now, since they don't have to borrow in order to cover themselves, now can we just let these things go and you don't have to pause trading on something literally over 20 times in a day, right? Sometimes 30 times in a day, which is crazy. I don't know, right? I don't know if this is something that causes them to not halt meme stocks as much. But if I had to guess, I'd say that they're going to continue to halt them as much as they want. Is it a possibility? The benefits of an even shorter settlement cycle are controversial. This could even fail to protect market participants by not giving enough time to detect failed trades, correct settlement instructions, or deal with compliance issues. Instant settlement T plus zero would require expensive updates to almost all market infrastructure and could do away with benefits like settlement netting, strain dealer resources, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, tons of technical jargon. So they're moving to T plus one. That really means nothing for us. That means like absolutely nothing for us on this side. Yeah. So, global news, Middle East watch. Energy markets are in the spotlight after the death of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash was confirmed. I just saw that literally walking this morning. Crazy. As well as fresh headlines out of Saudi Arabia. Despite uncertainty related to major crude producers, the market impact of the developments has so far been contained. Raisi, who oversaw the acceleration of Iran's nuclear program, had long been viewed as a potential successor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Forgive me. Separately, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman postponed a 4-day visit to Japan as King Salman is being treated for lung inflammation. Yeah, I mean the tensions that are boiling over in the Middle East continue as you've got the president of Iran that died in a helicopter crash. Like, I mean, if we don't live in a time of volatility, I don't know what is happening. Presidents just dying over the weekend. I mean, in order to boil that down, obviously condolences to the family, prayers to the family, and that's a horrible, horrible situation. On a human level, on a level where when it comes to markets, right, this is something where typically volatility like this tends to help crude producers. Like it adds some uncertainty, but if anything, it just seems like the default would be like oil prices going higher, just while everything is sorted out. So I have no idea, right, what the ramifications will be long term. I don't know anything about the politics of Iran, but just immediate thought is okay, oil, right? This is something that will affect oil, and it's not like it would be something that would push oil prices lower. Disruptions like this to oil supply chain tend to push up prices. Cryptocurrency news: an Ether ETF, despite the recent success of Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds. The crypto industry does not expect the SEC to approve more similar products. The regulator has until May 23rd to announce its decision on VanEck Spot Ether ETF application, but issuers have indicated that there was limited communication and feedback from the SEC regarding their applications. A rejection by the SEC could potentially lead to lawsuits. Recall that Grayscale Investments' legal win in August paved the way for the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs. So it doesn't look like we're getting an Ether, right, an Ethereum ETF anytime soon. But if this does get struck down, they get sued and go to court, and then we get it eventually, right? For my big crypto stands out there. Bankruptcy news under the sea. It's official. Red Lobster has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after it buckled under mounting losses, costly leases, and rising material and labor costs. That darn unlimited shrimp deal. The company intends to use the proceedings to drive operational improvements, close restaurants, and pursue a sale of substantially all of its assets as a going concern. Red Lobster also announced a stalking horse bid from existing lenders in $100 million debtor in possession financing. The bankruptcy caps off years of financial troubles, which prompted top shareholder Thai Union Group to look to exit its stake. In terms of today's markets in Asia, Japan we're up 0.7%, Hong Kong up 0.4%, China up 0.5%, India closed, London up 0.3%, Paris up 0.5%, Frankfurt up 0.4%, the Dow flat. I need to do some stretching. S&P up 0.1%, Nasdaq up 0.2%, crude down 0.2%, gold up 0.9%, Bitcoin down 0.1%. Today's economic calendar: Waller, a few members of the Fed speaking, none really important. What else is happening? Rapid fire stock news rundown to close us out. Goldman Sachs, the Magnificent Seven, needs to be retired. Yeah, I mean, at this point, those stocks have completely changed. NVIDIA has moved to the forefront of everything, and they're not even included technically in the Magnificent Seven, I don't think. Not sure. OpenAI seeks to address concerns after safety execs exit. That was a big thing also. Sam Altman does not care, I'm convinced, about the implications security wise that the developments OpenAI is making will have. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that OpenAI is unveiling, they went and they unveiled ChatGPT 4.0, and they had multiple executives leave the company in the week following it. So it seems like there are people that are like, look, you're doing a lot that might be too fast, and I don't think this is safe for the future of the company or the future of like humanity. And he's basically saying, I don't care. That's me reading between the lines. Normally, if Apple drops an iPhone, it's like, hey, the iPhone can now do X, Y, Z, and it's amazing stuff that an iPhone's never been able to do before, and then a bunch of Apple executives leave, that's like a big red flag. So we're in this spot where it's like there is a lot. Like whatever we're seeing, you have to understand that like this technology was already in the works, and there's already 4 to 5 iterations in the future that are currently in existence, right? So whatever you're shocked by, oh, it can do this, it can do that. That's only what has been shown to you. Imagine what they are working on in terms of like an MVP of ChatGPT 8, right? They might already have, humanoid robots that they're plugging ChatGPT into, and the executives are like, dude, this is not cool. And he's like, I don't care, I'm going to make history. Because that's how humans are, right? Whenever you are dealing with something that has a finite lifespan, selfishness will always be factored in. And that's why you got selfishness when it comes to politics. That's why democracy is something that will always have its flaws. Every type of governing has its flaws, but whenever there's an ending to something, people want to hold on to it, right? And for our lives, we're obsessed with glory and leaving a mark and feeling like we did something on this earth, and it pushes us to do things that we might later regret. Just like Oppenheimer, if you've seen Oppenheimer, right? You're so driven to be that person that does it, and then you do it, and you end up becoming the villain. Right. But history still remembers you. And sometimes that's all that these people care about. But it is definitely a concern. So I'm interested to hear what OpenAI has to say. But again, this makes me just want to understand AI even more, because if they're throwing caution to the wind, I need to understand exactly what it is that I'm dealing with, and have a very close relationship to it. And always say thank you to ChatGPT, just in case. Just in case. Same thing to Alexa. Mercedes auto workers in U.S. vote against union membership. Delayed again. Boeing's first crewed flight of Starliner. I don't know if they'll ever do this. And is sanctioned by China over arms sales to Taiwan. So I guess Boeing is also sanctioned by China because they sold some weapons to Taiwan. Boston Scientific, ticker BSX, succeeds in trial for leadless pacemaker. I don't know if it's leadless or leadless. I don't know what goes into pacemakers. U.S. Steel, ticker X, buyout in focus as key Nippon Steel exec to visit River Basin. Target lowers prices on thousands of frequently shopped items. And then roundtable are Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk overvalued. We shall see. Time will tell the tale. But other than that, y'all, we're wrapping it up on another fine pre-market prep session. We got to the weeds a little bit today, but sometimes it's necessary to go into the weeds to see exactly what new growth is going on underneath all the other crap that might be dominating headlines. But yeah, another great morning. Let's make this a great week. Remain patient, execute when necessary. Again, if you don't already have your seat reserved, I'm betterdaily.com. Get over there. We'll be going over some very interesting stocks as well. One of which I talked about in the group on Friday is a nice little sneak peek. But a lot happening on this next front. Don't be that person that is sitting there like, oh man, I missed NVIDIA. Can't wait for the next one, and then miss the next one, and the next one after that, and the next one after that. You're like, oh man, and then I also missed how to use AI. Now we're here. Don't be that guy. Take the time, take the step, take the plunge with us. Could be amazing, right? So, everybody, I'll see you back here tomorrow morning, our next pre-market prep session. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.